Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of D.E.I. Deathwatch, where we chronicle the downfall and the doubling down of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm your host, Scribelight. Hope you're all doing well on this beautiful Monday afternoon. Quick note before we begin, I have heard rumor, I don't know if it's true or not, but it sounds true. It sounds like something that YouTube would do. I've heard rumor that YouTube is going to start unveiling a system where a view does not count without viewer engagement. So even if 7,000 people decide to watch this stream, I know I'm underscoring myself here. Unless there are 7,000 likes or 7,000 comments, one, the other, or both, then viewing this won't count as a view anymore, at least in the near future. So I'm going to institute a new rule. That's right, everybody. The cover charge for showing up is hitting the like button. Or the dislike button. I mean, I guess engagement is engagement. So if you just take a moment, if you haven't already, just click the little button. That's it. That's all. Also check to make sure you're subscribed if you're not already subscribed. But I guess I'll have to start doing that. That'll be the new standard, I think, in a lot of channels. It's like the cover charge is, please like the stream. So that's all I'd ask. Well, it's not all I'd ask. I'd also ask you to pay attention as I ask who's joining me on this beautiful Monday afternoon. The Alexander, good afternoon. Walter Tomaszewski, hello, Scribe. My cats eagerly await your jokes and want to know if you'd like some mice tea. I'll allow it. Thank you, Walter Tomaszewski, and all the best to George. And Philip, Morgan King, good afternoon. The old guy, hello. Who else is here? Kieverdam, hello, and thank you, Kieverdam, as always, for providing the link to our friend Angela Arriaga's GoFundMe. Guys, at the top of the chat box, as soon as I post it there, because I didn't previously, but now it is there. I don't know why I missed that before, but I did. There you go, at the top of the chat box. There is a link to Angela Arriaga's GoFundMe to help start her home-based business. Please take a look at that when you have the opportunity. If you can donate, please do so, but even if you can't, if you can share it out on social media, that would be appreciated. So thank you ahead of time for that. And thank you, Kieverdam, for providing the link several times to get my attention, because I flubbed that one. I apologize. Blue-Eyed Screen, good afternoon. JB, hello. Who else is here? Anybody else? TC, good afternoon. Scrolling. Kiro Soldier, hello. Mike Savage, blarg. Plague Trucker Zach, hello. JPS, good afternoon. Suzanne a la Richard, good afternoon. Delver Fruit Zero, Scribe is live. Well, as far as I know, is it live or is it Memorex? Only your dentist knows for sure. Draco Rincewind, good afternoon. Jaeger Pony, hello. Jaeger Pony, have I not said your name? I feel like I haven't said your name in a while. Have you been away? Have our schedules just not intersected recently? Like Harvos Marvos showed up the other day, and I was like, Harvos Marvos. I feel like I haven't said Jaeger Pony in a while. Brian Morissette, hello. Anybody else? Simon Willikins, hello. And I think that's everybody I see. If I missed you, if you're lurking, if you're in the future, good afternoon. I've had a lot going on. Well, I hope all is well. I hope all is well. And Shadowcat, Walking Through Walls, credit to Gothic Therapy for breaking the new BS engagement to us. Yes, it was Doomcock I just heard it from, but I did see something from Gothic Therapy, at least in a tweet or something about it. So yes, I've had it from two different directions telling me this information now. So I'm taking it as gospel until I hear otherwise. So there you go. But in any case, we have a lot of news today, especially some breaking news earlier today. I'll get to that momentarily because I have to tease you a little bit. I have to lead you on, make sure anybody showing up late doesn't miss out on this. But let's take a look at some insider information, guys. Let's take a look at how inside the powerful task force spearheading Trump's assault on colleges, D.E.I. Ooh, his assault, guys. Trump is assaulting colleges and diversity, equity, inclusion. The Trump administration is using anti-Semitism investigations as a pretext to pursue an unrelated conservative agenda, critics say. Yes, guys. Because prior to Trump showing up, there was unquestionably no issues with potential anti-Semitism taking place at major colleges and universities. No. Those massive pro-Palestinian marches, rallies, riots, etc. on college campuses in the summers of 2022, 2023, or 2023, 2024. Now, those just, it was nothing. Don't worry about it. Only now Trump is just making an excuse. He's using it as a Trojan horse, guys. It's just a delivery mechanism for a conservative agenda. Okay. In 2021, future Vice President J.D. Vance delivered a speech titled, "The Universities Are the Enemy," unquote. A few years later, during his campaign, Donald Trump called college leaders Marxist maniacs. You know, both of these statements could be true. Also, John Trioxin, hello. And Kay Scholl, hello. And also Kay Scholl, Kirsten Scholl's over on the X Machine. Yes, guys, I often forget to mention, I'm simulcasting on X, so if you happen to have an X account and you see the streaming, please be sure to retweet. I'd appreciate that as well. Thank you. But let's see, what is the Marxist maniacs? Now their administration is using the full force of the federal government to investigate long-standing conservative complaints about universities, making sweeping demands and cutting billions of dollars in federal funding as it works to bring campuses to heel. Oh my gosh, guys. Oh my gosh. Long-standing conservative complaints about universities to take away all their money. And it's completely unjustified. There's absolutely no reason under federal law, none at all, that they could be or should be doing this. And unfortunately, I don't have an overlay about the Bob Jones University decision back in 1983 that is particularly relevant to the anti-Semitism charges against the universities. But it's there. It's been on the books for a long time. Trump's administration is just making stuff up, making up reasons to go after universities. The most powerful vehicle for the onslaught, guys, has been the Joint Task Force to Combat Anti-Semitism. The administration established the task force in February to counter what it describes as widespread failure by universities to protect Jewish students since the start of campus protests against the Israel-Gaza war. Is it more like the Israel-Hamas war? I mean, maybe I'm just being a bit pedantic, but anyway. Let's see. Where were we? Oh, yes. In reality, many of the task force's unprecedented demands and punishments have nothing to do with anti-Semitism. Okay. Instead, they seek hiring and programming changes to strip long-standing conservative targets, including D.E.I. and a liberal worldview, from higher education. Are you going to mention what D.E.I. tempts fate with legally and always has? Regardless of the administration, are you going to mention that? A White House official who was not authorized to speak publicly, and spoke on the condition of anonymity, said the task force began by focusing on anti-Semitism, but described anti-Semitism as only, quote, the symptom, unquote, of a broken and corrupt culture on college campuses, quote, and not the disease, unquote. Well, is that an incorrect assessment? The official said the same campus culture that labels Jews as oppressors and also isolates white students in favor of promoting racial minorities. That assertion was echoed by several administration officials and some conservative Jewish leaders. Well, don't take their word for it. Just listen to the actual officials at colleges and universities. I have a whole playlist on my channel, shameless plug, called Curriculum of Fear. I have chronicled multiple instances since 2016 of various colleges and universities and educational institutions saying these very things. You don't need to listen to Trump. You don't need to listen to Trump officials. Listen to the horse's mouth. This is why I don't bother listening to, Fox News or Tucker Carlson about DEI stuff. I just listen to DEI consultants and advocates. That's exactly where I get my information from. The administration's critics, including some Jewish leaders and groups, say stripping diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives from colleges won't prevent anti-Semitism. It's true, because it's an idea. And predict the task force's tactics will prompt a backlash. Well, it's not about preventing anti-Semitism. It's about disincentivizing anti-Semitism and removing the encouragement towards it. You'll never eliminate anti-Semitism the same way you won't eliminate racism or theft or murder. But you could probably do well in removing college officials and professors that actively promote and encourage such behavior on campus. And disincentivize colleges from allowing such individuals to operate in that way. See, it's the whole carrot and stick. The administration is using anti-Semitism investigations as a pretext to pursue an unrelated conservative agenda, they argue. An unrelated conservative agenda. Okay. Quote, it's self-evident it's not about anti-Semitism, said Yuda Kurtzer, president of the Shalom Hartman Institute, a Jerusalem-based research and educational center focused on world Jewish life and pluralism. Quote, why would that have anything to do with cutting funding for research? It's about conservative fears of higher education, and anti-Semitism is an excuse. No, anti-Semitism is a symptom. It is a symptom. If you allow the nonsense of DEI to proliferate as they have over the years, you allow all this Marxist nonsense, pro-Palestinian, quasi-pro Germany in the 1930s type thinking without wanting to admit to it. But I digress. These issues are set for a high-profile public airing next week in a federal court in Boston. Attorneys for Harvard and the Trump administration are scheduled to face off in a pivotal hearing in the lawsuit the university filed in an attempt to reverse federal funding cuts. This account of the Let's try this again. This account of the Anti-Semitism Task Force's mission and tactics is based on interviews with 40 administration officials, administration allies, university officials, and others familiar with the task force's work. Some spoke on the condition of anonymity to avoid retributions for speaking without authorization. White House spokesperson Harrison Fields, said fighting anti-Semitism and DEI are both administration priorities. Quote, the suggestion that the administration is weaponizing the fight against anti-Semitism to implement common sense policies to end DEI is outrageous and baseless, he said in a statement. He said both efforts are, quote, fully aligned with upholding federal law, which these practices clearly violate. Yes, Title VI, and depending on the hiring practices, Title VII, and again, the Bob Jones decision back in 1983. How long is this article? Holy cats, guys, I didn't know this thing was a novel. Holy cow. I might have to pick and choose here a little bit because I don't want to spend all day on this one. But let's see. Let's try this. A little bit of the history on the task force, and then we'll move on. A link to the full article, if you'd like to read it, is in the description below, though. The task force was created on February 3rd, days after Trump signed an executive order directing additional measures to combat anti-Semitism. Operated out of the Justice Department, its members ultimately report to the White House, a White House official said. With Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller playing an oversight role. Stephen Miller... he's going to come up again in another article, I imagine. The public face is Leo Terrell, a civil rights attorney who left his job as a Fox News contributor. Can you have just a job as a contributor at Fox News? Is that a job you can make a living on? To take a senior position in Trump's Justice Department. Republicans refer to him as Leo 2.0, an affectionate nod to his political transformation from Democrat to Trump supporter. Oh, okay. Terrell posts on social media throughout the day, echoing some of the right's most incendiary and baseless claims, such as... Oh, okay, you're not going to tell us. He also rails against diversity, equity, and inclusion, awfully simply posting, quote, I hate DEI, unquote, and tagging people of color with whom he disagrees as DEI hires. Do you have any evidence for this? Okay, if you say so. Washington Post, everybody. He's also echoed anti-Semitic comments, such as when he shared a post on X by the then head of Identity Evropa, which later changed its name to American Identity Movement, a now defunct group that the Anti-Defamation League dubbed a white supremacist organization. Well, I'm not going to encourage anybody to join an identity movement. The post suggested that Trump, quote, revoke, unquote. Why not just post the whole text of... Why give us portions? Okay, the post suggested that Trump, quote, revoke, unquote, Senator Charles E. Schumer's, quote, Jew card, unquote, because of his views on the conflict in Israel. Okay, multiple people said, okay, Terrell has little experience in the type of legal work the task force is undertaking and is not involved in its day-to-day legal strategy. He acts as messenger sometimes, they said, sending directives from the White House and updating Trump officials on the group's work. He has been eager to sit down with conservative Jewish leaders, people who have met with him said, but he hasn't met with groups that represent larger shares of the Jewish community, such as the Union for Reform Judaism, the association representing the largest Jewish denomination in the U.S., the group said. The American Jewish community waited months to get a meeting, officials said. Okay. Terrell declined multiple interview requests. A Justice Department spokesperson also declined to comment on Terrell's role and actions. Well, apparently, Washington Post declined to give context, name names, or tell us what they're talking about. I have no idea who this guy is. I think this is the first time I've ever heard of him. But I'm done reading Washington Post's reporting on the issue. Because I have a feeling it's not going to tell me much. That they don't want me to think versus know. Those are two different things. But anyway, I thought it was going to be some kind of like expose. But it's just slanted, biased nonsense. So, what do you expect? It's the Washington Post. I gave them a shot. I gave them a shot. What can I say? But yeah, so there's a task force, guys. A task force. And they're only making anti-Semitism an excuse to go after D.E.I. Or these things are related to one another. Possibly. But moving on. Let's go to the top story. Now, about, I want to say 8 or 9 months ago, I did a stream on here, and there's a link to it in the description below. It was an ambush stream about a news article that had come out regarding the Department of Transportation. And so this is back during the closing months of the Biden administration, and how the Department of Transportation under Pete Buttigieg had spent, and at that time, this was the number quoted in that article, $34 billion going towards giving money and grants and contracts to, I forget exactly how they phrased it. I think it was something like vulnerable businesses. And what qualifies a business as vulnerable? Well, if the people who run that business fall within particular racial or gender demographics, they are vulnerable just by nature of who's running the place. Well, that article got it wrong. I have to say that article got it wrong, apparently, because it wasn't $34 billion. I mean, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to just give away of taxpayer funding to businesses simply and first and foremost on the basis of the race or gender of the ownership. No, apparently it was $80 billion on grants. $80 billion, guys. $80 billion with a B. I got to tell, when I saw this morning, I had a double take. I was like, am I reading that correctly? Because I knew it was a lot of money. From several months ago, I knew it was ridiculously tons and tons of money that was spent on this stuff. But when I saw that headline this morning, I was like, what? Also, Chicago Mike, hello. And Jill Powers, the River Daughter. Good afternoon. But yeah, let's get into this. So from the New York Post, Pete Buttigieg's D.O.T. spent $80 billion on DEI grants, delayed air traffic control upgrades, records, industry insiders. Former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg failed to replace outdated air traffic control systems while in office, with his agency instead shelling out tens of billions of dollars on a DEI agenda, according to federal spending records and airline industry insiders. In one meeting, Buttigieg, who is said to be eyeing a 2028 presidential run, oh please, for simply the entertainment value alone, please do so, told industry executives that air traffic control upgrades would just allow them to fly more planes, quote, and so why would that be in his interest, unquote, sources said. I'm going to read that again for those of you in the cheap seats. Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation, told industry executives that air traffic control upgrades would just allow them to fly more planes, quote, and so why would that be in his interest, unquote. The Secretary of Transportation isn't interested in having up-to-date, functional air traffic control because it's just more planes. What's that got to do with me? Isn't it? Wouldn't it be nice? I'm gonna go Beach Boys here for a second. Can I pause this thing? Pause. I don't want the video playing. Wouldn't it be nice if we had heard of this, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago? We always hear about this stuff after the fact. Where are the whistleblowers when it matters? Anyway, what his department was really interested in was handing out hundreds of diversity, equity, and inclusion grants totaling more than $80 billion over 4 years. He spent $20 billion a year on DEI grants. Free money. And what was the price of admission for getting this free money? You had the right skin color, you had the right genitals. At least half of the DOT's entire budget for a fiscal year, records show. So, he spent $20 billion out of a $40 billion yearly budget simply on giving money away to people because they looked the part. Quote, he was definitely pushing an agenda, an air industry official said, noting the transportation secretary had, quote, little to no interest and took definitely zero action toward air traffic control modernization. Buttigieg spent his time in President Joe Biden's cabinet blaming the airlines for their delays and vilifying the industry as a whole while denying his department's DEI agenda led to any air traffic control staffing shortages or was maintaining an ailing safety system that hasn't been updated since the Carter administration, sources told the Post. Yeah, remember guys, when somebody says DEI destroyed X, right? Now, I'm not talking about X, the social platform, although for a time it did. If DEI destroyed this thing or this place, it might not inherently be, oh, that industry or that sector hired people because of DEI. No, it could be, like this example shows, because the money that should have gone to that industry, that thing, was rerouted to nonsense. And thus, the thing that is failing now is suffering for not having any support or any innovation or any upgrades. Just, good gravy, $20 billion a year. And what did it get us? This is my next question, and I don't know if the article will tell us. What was the ROI on $80 billion of DEI? The flying public paid the price, insiders said. Quote, at first, the Department of Transportation, which, you know, who cares about planes when it comes to transportation? I'll take Pete's position on it. Yeah, planes? What's that got to do with me? At first, the Department of Transportation and he were reluctant to say there was an air traffic controller shortage or that the shortage had anything to do with flight delays or flight cancellations, the air industry official said. Chris Mager, a spokesman for Buttigieg, rejected both claims and pointed to increased air traffic controller hiring under the former transportation big? under the former transportation big. I don't know if a word is missing there. Was it cheese? The big cheese? The big boss? You know, only you can save the president or something. As well as software changes to improve efficiency at airport runways, new flight routes projected to cut up to 100 hours of off travel time annually, and the development of communications technology to decrease flight delays. Did any of that happen? In any measurable way? Okay. Biden's infrastructure law also provided $5 billion to improve air traffic facilities, towers, and power systems, he noted. Great! Did they? I'm glad that it did, I guess, but was that done? Quote, suggesting that Secretary Buttigieg chose not to pursue air traffic control modernization is absurd, said Meager, adding that Biden's budget request for fiscal year 2025 included another $8 billion in funding that congressional Republicans blocked. Why? What was their justification? Secretary Buttigieg's focus was always on safety, not just in aviation, but also on roads and bridges, where 40,000 Americans die on our country's roads each year. Fixing issues with air traffic control was a priority. And... okay. The DOT's Bureau of Transportation Statistics shows that most flight cancellations, 54.3%, were caused by weather during Buttigieg's term, whereas little more than one-third, 34.7%, were attributable to air carriers. Just 10.6% were due to failures in the national aviation system. Nearly 80% of flights were on time between January 21st and 2025. Almost 7% of delays were due to air carriers. Another 7% were late for late arriving aircraft, and 5% were attributable to the aviation system. Less than 1% were attributable to weather. Okay, tell you what. I'll give Pete a pass. Tell you what. What the hell? Hasn't been updated since the Carter administration. They say they're updating everything. Whether that was or not, don't know. But let's say I'll just give him a pass on that. What did we get for our $80 billion? Okay, fine. You know what? Air traffic, whatever. I'll call myself neutral on that for the sake of argument. What did we get for $80 billion into D.E.I? Airline industry officials acknowledge that carrier delays persisted coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, but argued that much of the infrastructure's... Boy, that's a giant truck that just went by my window. If you guys can't hear that, I paused for no reason, but that was a big truck motor that just went by. Airline industry officials acknowledge that carrier delays persisted coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, but argued that much of the infrastructure law's funding, quote, went to maintenance of facilities and equipment, which is roughly $3.5 billion annually, not modernization. Okay, so just keeping everything running with bubblegum and baling wire, not updating things. Okay. They argued that while hiring improved in recent years, there was still a high dropout rate and surging retirements from veteran air traffic controllers. Quote, if you start with a thunderstorm early in the day and it ripples throughout the day, which is the way it usually works, by the time you get to the 8th flight, it's just tagged as late arriving aircraft, an industry official said. Quote, no matter what the original cause of the delay was, that always gets tagged to us as our fault, so it's a complicated story, unquote. Okay, New York Post, where did the $80 billion go? Where did the $80 billion go? Despite the requested changes to the air traffic control systems early in his term, Buttigieg seemed more interested in being good on TV than fixing the archaic systems that were flying up to 182 million passengers per year, officials said. Okay. The Federal Aviation Administration has been chronically understaffed for years, with the agency employing only around 80% of the target for certified professional controllers, at least since fiscal year 2017, which airline officials argued was the main factor forcing delays and cancellations. In January of 2023, the agency ordered the first nationwide grounding of flights since September 11, 2001 terror attacks that left thousands of passengers stranded. The 2023 grounding was due to an FAA system outage. In an urgent letter to Buttigieg's D.O.T. in April of 2024, Air Industry Trade Association officials warned that at the current rate of hiring, it could take as long as 90 years for the FAA to reach its targeted staffing levels in some of the critical New York air traffic control centers. At the same time, the focus of the department under Buttigieg also shifted, with roughly 400 DEI-related grants approved, according to a review of federal spending between 2021 and 2024. Okay, so 400 DEI grants amounting to $80 billion. If these numbers are correct, and they're giving us the correct numbers here. Okay, so 80, oh my gosh, billion dollars divided by 400. So on average, I'm not a math guy, guys. I had to use a calculator. On average, each one of these grants handed over $200 million on average. I got in the wrong business. I've said it before. Man, I should have hung out my shingle as a DEI consultant back in 2018. I'd watched so much DEI nonsense at that point, I could probably have just faked it for 2 or 3 years and gotten a few grants. I could have gone to a couple of businesses, done some DEI classes, and saved up enough money to retire already. Good golly. Also, Daryl Odell, hello. I miss anybody else in the meantime? I may have. Random American, hello. Corbin Dallas, good afternoon. Just another guy, hello. Dr. Functional, good afternoon. Anybody else, if I might see? I don't see, so I think that's it. Nice to see you guys. Just 60 grants for diversity, equity, or inclusion initiatives were approved during the previous administration, totaling no more than a few $1 billion. That's still too much. That's still way too much. But anyway, programs such as Justice 40 ended up shelling out 55% of around $150 billion in infrastructure investments to, quote, disadvantaged communities, unquote, pursuant to an executive order Biden signed to, quote, advance equitable outcomes, unquote. $150 billion. And what did that go into? Who did that go to? What did they do with the money? What constitutes a disadvantaged community? Biden's $1.2 trillion with a T infrastructure law in 2021 provided much of the funding, but some Democrats were critical of the outcomes, including a $5 billion equity effort to build 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations that resulted in just 7 being built by June of 2024. Let me do some more math. Okay, so far, let's see, $5 billion divided by 7. So each one of those charging stations, guys, has cost the American taxpayer $714,285,714 and 26 cents. Pardon me, 28 cents. Man, nice work if you can get it. Jeez. What? Oh my God. Kiro Soldier, thank you so much. Sent this article to Sinatra. Good. Yeah, get it out there. $80 billion. Quote, internal White House polling showed the airline issues and airline consumer issues were key polling successes, an industry official said. Quote, at this point, that White House didn't have a lot to sink their teeth into from a PR standpoint. No kidding. But the rest of it didn't all go into airline stuff. Meager said the department's DEI grants didn't delay the work of the FAA and were a separate, siloed transportation mode. Okay, well then what did it buy? Look, New York Post, you know what? Put all the FAA stuff aside. You know, it's not unimportant, but I want to know, what did our $80 billion get us out of all these DEI grants? Like, specifically, I want to see the tangible results. Because if they're anything like the 500,000 charging stations that resulted in 7 charging stations at $700 million a pop, I want to know where the other $80 billion went. Quote, "You can walk and chew gum at the same time," he responded. Quote, "FAA operates completely separately than other modal administrations. So what happens at FHWA doesn't have a meaningful effect on FAA or NHTSA because they operate independently. It's separate staff, separate budgets, separate programs," unquote. Where did the money go? Who did you give $80 billion in grants to? What did we get out of it as the taxpayer? Buttigieg often lashed out at the airlines, blaming the industry. Okay, guys, I get it. You've said it. I want to know where the money went. Okay. U.S. D.O.T. also insured nearly $4 billion in refunds to consumers as a result of investigations into consumer complaints. We paid refunds to consumers. The airlines didn't pay the Okay, the headline was talking about $80 billion, guys. Where's the $80 billion breakup? Okay, this article is decidedly disappointing to me. Kiro Soldier warns Sinatra that this article is a little bit like selling a bill of goods. I want to know where the $80 billion went. I get that the FAA air traffic controlling is important. I get that Buttigieg's messaging versus spending has been lackadaisical on the FAA, etc. during his time. But where did these $80 billion in grants go, specifically? To who? And for what? And what were the results? Do I have to look up another story on this or something? 80 billion D.O.T. grants. Yeah, the New York Post. And then everything else is referencing back to the New York Post story. So, okay, well, hopefully this will come out later, because I really want to know specifically, I want a breakdown of where $80 billion in grants went. Whether they're related to air traffic controls or not. What businesses benefited from $80 billion, on average $200 million per grant, simply on the basis that the ownership of said organization or entity was the right skin color or had the right genitals? That's what I want to know. I also want to know why I haven't said hello to Toku 154. Well, probably because Toku just showed up. So hey, Toku. Frustrating article. The headline was a tease. I hope there is a follow-up in the near future where the New York Post gives us the breakdown of where all that money went. That it should have, or some portion of it should have gone to improving their airline system. Sure. Is somebody having like a tractor pull outside my apartment building today or something? Everybody's just like, I'm going to rev my engine louder than the last guy. Gearheads. Jeez. Anyway, we talked a little quasi-religious stuff at the beginning with the anti-Semitism story. Let's move on to a Christian university is rebranding D.E.I. to evade Trump order. Enroll illegals, Tennessee representative says. Okay. We're always going to keep doing what we're doing. The work never stops, a Belmont University faculty member said in a recording. Uh-oh. This sounds like some James O'Keefe type stuff. One second. I'm going to close my door there. Maybe that'll blunt some of the outside noise a bit. I guess we'll find out. Representative Andy Ogles, I'm sure he does, is demanding an investigation into Belmont University after leaked recordings of a university faculty member admitting the school has maintained its diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, but, quote, just changed on how we talk about it, unquote, despite federal directives to end the programs deemed by many to be discriminatory. In undercover recordings, the same official can be heard admitting the school also enrolls illegal immigrants and hides that information from external entities, which Ogles suggested could violate state law against knowingly harboring illegal aliens for profit. What? Exploiting illegal aliens? Quote, Belmont University, which I'm assuming is not where you train to be a vampire hunter, but anyway, Belmont University claims to be a Christian institution grounded in biblical principles, or maybe it is a place you learn to be a vampire hunter. But its administration is injecting anti-gospel DEI ideology into its curriculum, Ogles told Fox News Digital. President Trump has rightly demanded that colleges and universities dismantle the DEI cartel or lose federal funding. Well, just stop violating federal law. Belmont officials, however, have been caught on camera bragging about their clever scheme to rebrand DEI and continue pushing the same radical agenda under a new name. Belmont is just one of the latest schools to come under fire for allegedly trying to skirt federal funding repercussions by rebranding DEI programs and policies. An investigation in April by conservative parental rights group Defending Education found that despite the president's executive directives, there are still 383, quote, currently active, unquote, DEI offices and programs, with 243 universities maintaining institution-wide DEI offices or programming. Great. That gives you a list of all the schools that need to be audited for compliance with federal law. And if they fall out of compliance with federal law, specifically Title VI, yank their federal funding. And they don't get it back without a probationary period where they show that they've changed their ways. That's what I would do if I was in charge. I wouldn't do any of this, oh, make me a deal or pay a fine or da-da-da-da. No, you lose it. Because you're breaking the law. And you're going to have to prove that you're no longer doing so if you want that federal money back. Short and sweet. In addition to tracking those DEI offices and programs that are still active, the group's investigation also highlighted dozens of universities that have taken steps to rebrand or reorganize their DEI efforts as opposed to shutting them down like others have done. Ogles pointed to Belmont's Office of Hope, Unity, and Belonging, HUB. Well, I mean, a couple of points for creativity on that one, which engulfed the university's DEI efforts in 2022 as an example of how the school has rebranded its DEI efforts. The hub is Hope, Unity, and Belonging. That's DEI. Let's be real. Yosef Lucky, Belmont's Assistant Director of Student Success and Flourishing, Director of Student Success and Flourishing, said in an undercover recording cited by Ogles, quote, we always try to just adapt to what's happened around us, but that doesn't mean like what we're focusing on completely stops. We just change the terminology and the language that we keep moving forward. Quote, we're always going to keep doing what we're doing. The work never stops. We just change on how we talk about it, unquote. The work. I have a video called The Work. I think it was the first time I ever heard anybody use the phrase get woke. And that was back in like 2016, 2017. After Ogles' public complaints, his office said, faculty and students have reached out to attest to the school's ongoing DEI initiatives. One professor allegedly shared a mandatory form for faculty members requesting to revise or propose a new course, which required a, quote, diversity impact statement, unquote, outlining how the course supports, quote, historically underrepresented populations. Yes, justify to me how this course is going to help all of the people we must pity. Another source, according to Ogles' office, shared screenshots of an email chain showing Belmont intends to keep its faculty DEI committee for the next academic year. Belmont has insisted attempts to portray the school as having a shadow operation are wholly inaccurate. Quote, we are deeply saddened that these videos portray Belmont as having a shadow operation, as nothing could be further from the truth. Well, no, it's not in the shadows. It's right there publicly. It's on your website. You talk about it. It's also disappointing that Representative Ogles and others perceive such an approach as being representative of Belmont University's character and values. It's disappointing that others perceive such an approach as being Again, this is why you have to do an audit. You can't just take what they say and just run with it. If somebody has said in the past, if any organization in the past has said that they have an active DEI program, that company, that organization needs to be audited. Its policies and practices need to be audited for compliance with civil rights law. It doesn't matter what you call it. You can put any label you want on it. What matters is the mechanism. What are they doing? Who are they preferencing versus others, and why? And if it violates existing civil rights law, you yank their federal funding. Zip. That's it. This is what's going to happen. This is exactly what happened in California after affirmative action was outlawed in 1996. They found every possible way to do the same thing without calling it affirmative action. There have to be consequences. Serious, unavoidable consequences. Quote, "We are aware of comments from government officials and maintain that the university is in compliance with federal laws," a university spokesperson told Fox News Digital. Great! Then you'll be completely open to an audit by the Justice Department. "We look forward to working together with the Tennessee delegation to address any concerns about legal compliance." Pam Bondi, send a team to audit Belmont University. Its policies and practices for compliance with federal civil rights law. Just do it. Just go through their papers, go through how they adjust things, interview the people involved, audit them. Make that standard. In-person, face-to-face audits. I tell you what, you do 2 or 3 colleges that way, everybody else will hop to real quick. And especially if you punish violations. In an email allegedly sent to the Belmont University community, University President L. Gregory Jones doubled down on the school's compliance with federal laws and argued Hub was established to, quote, "inspire the campus community to fully live in light of Christ's resurrection," unquote, adding it is not a DEI office, even though the university's website described it like that when it was established in 2022. The email included references to counseling services for people who may be feeling uncomfortable as a result of the allegations the school is facing. Okay. Your school uses DEI. I feel injured. My psyche has been traumatized by such allegations. Here's some free counseling. Oh, thank you. Oh. What is that? If that isn't the biggest red flag flare above the college that they're still doing DEI safe space stuff, I don't know what is. Guys, in case you feel that you've experienced some kind of emotional turmoil over an accusation that the school is being too inclusive, we have resources for you. Oh, thank you so much. The school did not respond to allegations from Ogles and others that the school is admitting and harboring illegal immigrants for profit. Quote, "We definitely have to navigate very carefully and just cautiously, just because we just don't ever know." Wait, okay, hold on. I'm reading this verbatim. This is not me bumbling over something there. That person said just about 4 times in the same sentence. We definitely have to navigate very carefully and just cautiously just because we just don't ever know, especially with, like, the ICE raids that are happening in the city that impacts our campus, unquote, Lucky was caught saying in the undercover recording. Yeah, it would be something if you had ICE raids at your university campus, because you were harboring illegal aliens. That would look bad. Quote, "We do have undocumented students here. Yeah, oh yeah, we don't communicate to anybody externally who's undocumented and who isn't. And so, like, yes, we know who it is. Faculty don't really know. How could they? Unless it's indicated in the system somewhere," unquote. If ever there was an invitation for ICE to conduct an investigation. I mean, maybe they're in the faculty may or may not, it might be in the system. Oh. According to Ogles, such a move could potentially violate Tennessee's Senate Bill 392, which was passed recently and criminalizes 501c3 institutions known colloquially as nonprofits for harboring illegal aliens for profit. Nonprofit profiting off of illegal aliens, yeah. Okay. Every single time I see one of these stories, I'm just like, okay, Justice Department, investigate, audit. What strikes fear into most companies when it comes to their finances? An audit, an outside auditor coming in and checking the books. And if they find problems, oh boy, you want the IRS on your back? The civil rights branch of the Justice Department should become the IRS of D.E.I. Come on. It's I was a couple months ago, I was like, okay, my patience, I've got some patience. It's only been a couple of months since the administration took over. I'm just waiting. Time's passing. We need some serious examples and serious consequences to befall these guys. Their federal funding yanked. Investigations, fines. Something meaningful. Else it's just going to keep going. Suzanne Al-Rashard, IRS is the reason you audit your own company in the first place. Exactly. Because the reputation of the IRS is well earned. They will rip you apart. Right? You want to be in compliance because the consequences can be dire. And that's what the Trump administration and the Department of Justice need to do. If you want to get rid of DEI, you have to become the IRS of DEI, and you have to prove it. So yanking the federal funding, initiating investigations, penalizing people. I mean, honestly, there should, especially for the hiring practices part, there are some companies that should face criminal charges. I just, for the years and years and years, just the bulk of civil rights violations and hiring and promotion that have occurred in major companies in this country for the last 10 years. The last 10 years alone should constitute some kind of legal and criminal liability. But until we see it, they'll just keep thinking all we have to do is change our names, change our labels, just dodge it. Until you bring the hammer down, that's all that's going to happen. Moving on. Let's see. How about this one? Oh, yes, a warning. A warning, guys. Commentary. Gutting DEI programming will hurt Indiana for years to come. Oh my gosh, guys. Indiana Jones? No. When Governor Mike Braun, is he a brawny man? Signed an executive order earlier this year banning diversity, equity, and inclusion practices and programs in state agencies, we in the Indiana Black Legislative Caucus saw the writing on the wall. Okay, that they were trying to do away with racist and sexist programs and activities. As a longtime lawmaker and chair of the IBLC, I know that nothing done in the State House exists in a vacuum. Well, unless it's the janitorial services. And then all that dirt exists in a vacuum. Okay. Okay, I admit that was pretty bad. But it's my show. Let's see. This order from Governor Braun signaled not only his willingness to comply with hyper-partisan D.C. culture wars, but his willingness to put policies over the lives and well-being of the Hoosiers he was elected to serve. Yes, guys, the hyper-partisan as of 1964 civil rights movement, hyper-partisan. It's so hyper-partisan, it's in federal law. Now, just 6 months after his executive order, over 350 programs and positions throughout state agencies have been eliminated. Holy cats! 350 programs and positions. All that stuff was just benefiting off of the DEI scam? Good gravy. How much money have they saved? These now defunct programs include a strategic equity position within the Department of Child Services. What does the strategic equity position do? When you're going to say that it's some kind of tragedy or some kind of injustice that some position was eliminated or some program was taken away, you have to tell us, what are we losing from that? Now, I don't live in Indiana, so it's not, as personal to me as it might be to others. But what did the strategic equity position within DCS do? Can you cite or quantify its accomplishments or its utility? Okay. A maternal health coordinator and disparities coordinator for the Indiana Department of Health. Disparities coordinator? Oh boy, look, that number is bigger than that number. I saw it. Now I'm going to coordinate the seeing of those two numbers right next to each other. One's bigger, one's smaller. That's a disparity. That's what that is. That's what I'd love to get that paycheck. You know who else deserves a paycheck? That'd be Polly over at Latino Slant. Hi, Polly. Hi, Polly. He has many triangles that form his makeup. Everybody, if you don't know about Latino Slant, you should know about Latino Slant. It's a channel over on the YouTube here with me and the rest of the Midnight's Edge crew. Polly and his team take a look at entertainment and art and comic books and all types of stuff from if you can believe it, Latino Slant. So go check out Latino Slant on the YouTubes. And thank you, Polly, for redirecting people this direction after his show. Yes, the Monday routine goes Midnight's Edge in the morning, Latino Slant, and then over to me, and we're all daisy-chained. At least now we are, because I clicked the right box on my YouTube studio control panel thing to allow redirecting. So here you go. And so thanks, Polly, for that, and hi, Polly. Okay, so let's see. We had the Disparities Coordinator for the Indiana Department of Health and dozens of DEI training programs for Indiana educators. And what were we, and I mean we in the royal we of the hypothetical Indiana taxpayer, what were we getting out of those things? And he said, all these things have been eliminated. Here's some examples, but you're not saying why that's wrong or bad. Beyond the classroom and doctor's offices, resources that were once available to parents who have adopted a child of a different race are now not offered to these families. Resources that were once available to parents who have adopted a child of a different race. Okay, what? Okay, if somebody in the chat knows elsewise, apologies for the poverty of my imagination. What special resources do adoptive parents of a child who does not match their race need versus adoptive parents of a child that does match their race? You see, this is after years of listening to TEDx talks that just do not deliver on anything they're promising over the course of the talk. You mention something, but you give no context. You say something is some kind of injustice or some kind of detriment, and you don't tell us why. And you leave it to my imagination to figure out, like, why would... What special kind of resources? And I'm willing to accept the possibility that such a thing exists. I mean, I don't know. Like what? You're not going to tell us, though, but you're the one making the argument. It's like reading a TEDx talk. This isn't about efficiency, and it's not about merit, excellence, and innovation. It's an attempt to whitewash history and silence diverse voices? Okay, again, I have to ask, how? Nothing you've said so far spells out how that is what is at risk. Nothing. We can't let that happen. Okay, well, how do you propose to solve for this problem? DEI isn't about giving any particular group a handout. DEI isn't about giving any particular group a handout. What?
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Right?
$80 billion in DEI grants. Where the first barrier to admission is, are you the right skin color or are you the right gender? DEI isn't about giving any particular group a handout. It's about giving everyone a hand up by creating a level playing field. Creating level playing fields and giving every Hoosier a fair shot at good health, a living wage, and a high quality of life. Well, let me ask you a question. Describe to me a non-diverse voice. No, seriously, describe to me a non-diverse voice. And why did you say whitewash? Who are you talking about? It's not about giving any particular group a handout, but you're the one bringing up race. You're the one delineating between diverse voices and, ipso facto, non-diverse voice. Who are you talking about? How did what you mentioned above whitewash something? The unfortunate reality is that for many people, their race, gender, sexual orientation, ability, and other factors have historically been a barrier to achieving these. Yeah, and you know what? They still are. Because if I'm of the wrong race, or if I'm of the wrong gender, I don't receive $20 billion or something per year in grants from the D.O.T. If I'm running a business that has something to do with transportation, whether it's like road fixtures or airline carriers or trucking or whatever the heck else, and I'm the wrong gender, I don't qualify for those grants. Not because I don't do a good job, not because my business isn't relevant to the Department of Transportation, just as an example, but because I have the wrong skin color. I'm the wrong gender. I'm not pitiable enough to deserve a grant. Our author here either has absolutely no idea what he's talking about, or he does, he just doesn't want to admit to it. I'm not quite sure which, or which might be worse. The unfortunate reality is that for many people, their race, gender, sexual orientation, ability, and other factors have historically been a barrier to achieving these. Indiana is one of the worst states in the nation for maternal mortality, an issue that disproportionately impacts black women and women of color, and we're terminating positions created to solve the problem. Okay. Again, it's your article. It's your commentary. How do any of these positions help? Because they've existed at least for some period of time prior to this, right? Okay, so have the numbers around maternal mortality, have they improved or worsened in the time that all of the DEI money was going to these positions? And if they have improved while these positions have been in existence, you'll tell us that, right? We're getting rid of protections against discrimination for renters and homeowners in a state plagued by a housing crisis. You know, I'd take your word for it, but so far, you haven't proven that your word is all that good. We're no longer going to provide our teachers with the resources they need to properly educate diverse classrooms while we're in the middle of a teacher shortage. Okay, this isn't leadership, it's cruelty. Where's the return on investment? Again, what is the ROI on DEI? How has maternal mortality, particularly amongst the demographics you care about specifically, setting aside anyone else who might die who's not the right color, how have they improved with those positions in place over these last several years? The numbers have hopefully gone down, right? If they had, wouldn't you tell us? Not only will these actions negatively impact minority Hoosiers. Oh, I thought it was about a hand up for everybody. Wait a second. I thought it was about giving a hand up, giving everyone a hand up. Oh, okay. Because DEI isn't about giving any particular group a handout. No. Not only will these actions negatively impact minority Hoosiers, it will hurt all Hoosiers for years to come. When our classrooms and hospitals are under-resourced, when large swaths of people struggle to find affordable housing, and when people don't have the resources they need to help themselves and their families thrive, all Hoosiers pay the price. If we continue to go down this path, we'll see Indiana dip even lower in national rankings. Not only will the people already living and working in our state be impacted, it will actively discourage students, workers, families, and businesses from bringing their talents to Indiana. Hoosiers deserve better than tired culture wars. You're right. So who's perpetuating that? By divvying people up on the basis of diverse and non-diverse, of deciding who deserves extra money and resources based on what they look like. Who's promoting the culture war again? The IBLC is calling on the governor and the Republican supermajority to focus their efforts on bringing us together, not creating more barriers that divide and weaken us. Okay. It is remarkable to me, given the complaints in this commentary, that not once did he cite any comparative statistics of how things were before these programs and positions existed and how they've gone since they've been in place. What is being lost? Not just rhetoric. You have to have proof. You have to show it. None of that here. Now, maybe there is something to say on that. I don't know. But he's the one making the commentary. And there's nothing there. So, a whole bag of nothing. Wouldn't be the first time. Yvonne Solomon. A lot of words to not do any actual explaining. Indeed. And Yvonne Solomon. Now, there's a name I haven't said in a long time either. I feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's a name I've not heard in a long time. I hope you're doing well, Yvonne. I always notice when I say a name I don't recognize it as having said in a long time. Like Harvos Marvos or Jaeger Pony earlier. Now Yvonne Solomon. Also, is Found here by any chance? You know, I should probably... Found probably wouldn't be showing up for a while because Found had a child. And this was made plain to everybody on the chat the other night, but I missed it. And I didn't have a chance to celebrate the new baby. So, on the off chance that Found watches this in the future, until I can be verified that the message has gotten across. Yay, baby! Only got a couple stories left here, guys, and then we'll wrap things up. Let's see, what's this one? Oh, yes. The DEI industry, scorned by the White House, turns to safer topics. It's all about dodging. It's all about rebranding and dodging. Is that too much of a zoom in? Yeah, it is. When President Donald Trump signed an executive order in January targeting diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in federal agencies, schools, and the private sector, Erin Reeves, who has been a DEI consultant for 26 years, said many in her field were in a panic, as they should be. Quote, all the federal government stuff, I was watching it, and I genuinely didn't even know where to go with it, Reeves said. Well, hopefully to the unemployment office. I know that sounds cruel, but DEI is and always will be a total and absolute useless grift. You know, I don't know what to tell you. For those in the industry, she added, there was a feeling of, what do we do? I don't know. Find honest work, I suppose. The answer for many DEI professionals has been to adapt to what companies feel comfortable offering, employee trainings that maintain the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion, but without necessarily calling them that. That has meant fewer sessions that focus explicitly on race, gender, sexuality, and unconscious bias, and more on subjects like neurodivergence, mental health, and generational differences. A training that teaches about how age affects viewpoints in the workplace. Oh boy. Oh, this is rich. This is great. Companies are looking for, quote, safer inclusion topics, said Reeves, who is based in Chicago and whose work involves conducting research on diversity in the workplace to inform her trainings. Oh, I'm sure it does. Quote, if you have something being billed as a generational differences training, it is less likely to raise eyebrows among anybody that's looking to say, hey, is that safe? Is that dangerous for us to do right now? Unquote. You know, it's hilarious that you have to constantly second guess yourself. It's like, have we picked a covert enough thing that we can still get paid to do trainings on? That's not a good sign. Can I still market myself as a trainer, as a consultant on these things, as long as I make sure whatever I'm talking about is even more useless than the stuff I used to be talking about? That's great. What's this? Texas Attorney General secret agent? Boy, oh boy, this is like old home week. You know, we got Jaeger Pony, we got Yvonne Solomon, Texas Attorney General secret agent. Meh is here. Nice to see you, Texas Attorney General secret agent. Hope you're doing well. I hope everything that's kept people away from the shows, you know, this isn't like anybody's priority or nothing, but I hope everything's all right. I hope your absence has been for good things, or at least productive things, and not bad things. I hope. Fingers crossed. Knock Formica. A report by the Meltzer Center for Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging at NYU Law. Yeah, those are the guys that tried to argue that there was existing laws that allowed for DEI and violations of Title VII to take place. I remember those guys. And the workplace gender equity firm Catalyst. Catalyst? Wait a second. Catalyst? Oh, what was her name? The redhead. Oh, I used to do videos. I did a couple of videos on her. She did a TEDx talk. Oh, man. I can see her face now. She's got like the completely like colored red hair and the concerned glasses. Oh, and she changed her company's name to Catalyst, and she told the story of how she was a big wig at some executive firm, but she didn't see enough women around, and so she quit to start her own thing. Oh, what was her name? Oh, it's a small world sometimes, guys. Maybe they'll mention her later if she's still there. Anyway, Catalyst found that 78% of C-suite executives intend to rebrand their DEI programs with terms like employee engagement or workplace culture while staying committed to underlying values of inclusion. Yeah, let's all make a mental note. I'm going to start looking up employee engagement. I'm going to start looking up workplace culture. See what kind of panel discussions or corporate promotional videos I can find. They can change the titles, it's fine. And again, this is why audits are necessary. Quote, they still want to have these human-centered conversations, said Stephanie Curry. Courageous conversations? Is Glenn Singleton far behind? An assistant professor at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School who focuses on organizational DEI. Quote, and so as a substitute, they are talking about generations, unquote, and other less scrutinized topics. Jessica Lambrecht, the CEO and co-founder of the Rise Journey, a consulting firm that hires contractors for DEI training, oh man, I got to make a note of that one, said she too has adapted to increased demand in the past year for workplace trainings on mental health, generational differences, parental issues, and how to give and receive feedback. If a client requests a training on something Rise doesn't offer, Lambrecht said, she quickly finds the right expert to do it. Like what? That flexibility, she said, has helped offset a drop in business from a peak in 2022 when companies across the country increased investment in DEI initiatives. Yeah, until the latter part of 2022 when the oral arguments before the Supreme Court started, and then everything started falling apart. Big companies including Meta, Target, Lowe's, and Amazon have all publicly scaled back or eliminated their DEI programs in the last year. Well, in the last year or two. An Amazon spokesperson said that the company was committed to building a diverse and inclusive company, and that it had recently started an employee development program that included training on topics like wellness. Meta declined to comment on changes to its DEI programs. Oh, don't worry, they issued a public statement a while back that implicated them in breaking Title VII over and over again for years, and declined to comment on changes to its DEI programs, and Lowe's and Target did not respond to requests for comment. Americans are deeply split over DEI in the workplace, with a recent NBC poll showing that 49% thought such programs should be eliminated because they created divisions. I wish the other 51% of the population would be honest with themselves or actually get information directly from the source on this stuff, because it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious. Let's see. What do I got in the chat here? Over here. College has been kicking my butt and forced me back into lurking mode. Oh, man. Well, it'll all be worth it when you get that diploma. I have mine on the wall right off to the right of me here. Yeah, there it is. My English major, or English degree. It was totally worth it. Look at me now. And Texas Attorney General Secret Agent. Hey, Scribe, doing well here. Work has been extra busy lately, so being able to stream online has been almost zilch during the day. I get it. And I'm glad that work has been busy. It's better than not being busy at all, like for these DEI consultants. Of course, they deserve not having much work, where you deserve all the work you can get. That's what I say. Creary thinks some of the blame for that falls on corporations that, quote, unilaterally decided to focus only on race and gender and created the impression that the field was intended to benefit only certain identity. What?
What? What is that? What the fuck is that?
Created the you know what? 9 years of corporate promotional videos, panel discussions, TEDx talks. You're right. It just created an impression. It's not true. It's just the impression. No, DEI was intended to benefit certain identity groups. No. That's nonsense. Who are you going to believe? Me or your lying eyes and ears for the last 10 years? Come on. Jeez Louise. These guys are just gaslighting the heck out of... And anybody who's paid attention, anybody with a working mind can see right through it. Come on. Other professionals agree that broadening the scope of DEI could help fix what they think went wrong in the field over the last few years. What went wrong? The entire thing. Quote, this should have never been work that was niche or felt like it was siloed to specific groups, said Joelle Emerson, CEO of the DEI consultancy Paradigm, who has also seen rising demand for trainings on topics like neurodiversity and generational differences. This should have never been work that was niche or felt like it was siloed to specific groups. Well, whose fault is that? This is such stepping through the looking glass ridiculousness. It hurts my head. The absolute condescension and gaslighting here. DEI was never meant to divide people. No, DEI wasn't meant to come across as only benefiting certain demographics. Oh, it's just an impression that's been given by certain companies that just decided to focus on race and gender. You know, a couple of bad apples to spoil the bunch, everybody. Good gravy. Emerson said she hopes that by focusing on a wider range of identity groups, stop. Just stop with the identity at all. Just stop with the identity groups. Stop. A wider range. Okay, identitarianism is poison. Racial identitarianism is total poison. Gender identitarianism is also poison. Stop it. Emerson said she hoped that by focusing on a wider range of identity groups, the DEI field would, quote, generate broader buy-in from people who, quote, might not have felt seen in this work before, unquote. Still focusing on the aesthetics. But she added that Paradigm had continued to incorporate race and gender into its trainings. Why? Not all consultants have been able to navigate the shift to less divisive topics. Well, yeah, because if you traffic in racism and sexism as part of your business model, and then people suddenly call you out for being racist and sexist, what are you going to do? Rukita Malhotra, a DEI professional in Seattle, has seen an 80% drop in business inquiries from last year, which she said has forced her to dip into her savings. As a woman of color, which is completely irrelevant, Malhotra thinks that companies are less willing to hire her even for topics like leadership training because they fear she will be perceived as someone who will focus on race and gender. Well, do you focus on race and gender? Quote, often your identity itself seems to be the blocker or the barrier for organizations to want to engage with you in this climate, she said. It's just, the total and absolute willful lack of self-awareness. You promote creating barriers for organizations to want to engage with certain people. You profit off of organizations creating barriers for certain people. Oh, and now you feel like you're the victim. Oh. That fear of explicit conversations surrounding race and gender is worrisome to David Glasgow, Executive Director of the Diversity and Inclusion Center at NYU Law. Well, I'm sure if your entire career is based around this thing, which has been demonstrably illegal for years and only now is sort of becoming, under the microscope of legality, yeah, I guess you would be worried. It could be the case that you've been promoting some civil rights violations for your entire tenure. It would be worrying, wouldn't it? Quote, the problems relating to race and gender in the workplace haven't gone away, he said. It feels a lot like sweeping it under the rug. Tell me true, how has DEI improved racial divisions? The problems relating to race and gender in the workplace haven't gone away. Okay, well, let me ask you something, Mr. Glasgow. DEI programs have been prolific for a decade or more, at least a decade. I started looking at them in 2016. They were going on before then, when they were still known as just diversity programs or D.I programs. How much longer do you think you need? Oh, well, that's right. It's a never-ending struggle. That means a never-ending paycheck. And especially if, and I suspect, especially if all you look at are disparities in percentages. Oh, look, there's a difference between this racial demographic and that racial demographic. One's higher than the other one. Disparity obviously equals inequity. Our work isn't finished yet, guys. Never mind population demographics or any other factor that might go into how those numbers arrive. No. If it's measuring racial makeup, it's racism. If it's measuring gender makeup, it's sexism. And our work is never done. Please give me a paycheck. I'll advise your company on how to fix this problem. Never. Reeves, the consultant in Chicago, said adapting to the new political landscape involved not just a change in content, but also in the strategies she offered companies to mitigate their risk. In the past year, for example, she has advised several companies on how to integrate DEI practices, including improving outcomes for women, people of color, and LGBTQ+ people, as though they're a different race or something, into larger human resources teams, and how to communicate changes on diversity initiatives to employees. Quote, there's a lot of negotiation of what do we want to call something, Reeves said, adding, quote, if it means we've got to contort ourselves a little bit to keep going, for now, that's what we have to do, unquote. Again, just like the story before, this is why audits are necessary. audits of educational institutions, audits of public sector companies. Are you complying with federal law? I don't care what you call it. You can call it the Pet Cute Puppies Program at your company. Oh, what does the Pet Cute Puppies Program do? Oh, well, we offer fast tracking for hiring to people of this particular skin color. Oh. Audits. Audits. Peter, America's greatest weakness is pride because you feel invulnerable and thus fail to react to obvious threats. Well, it's not only that in this case, but it's also it's both systemic risk after a fashion, but it's also that's the phrase I was looking for. Pardon me, my brain went off into a different direction for a second. Moral hazard. Moral hazard. As in, if you do not punish somebody for doing something wrong, they will continue to do it or find a way to get around being punished for doing the same thing. And that's what these companies are doing. They're just trying to hide the ball. Oh, well, we don't do diversity, equity, inclusion anymore. We do humanitarian, unifying, belonging stuff. It's completely different. Consequences. Audits. Fines. Criminal charges. If you want to get rid of DEI, if you want to scare people into not doing this stuff anymore, like they don't try to cheat on the IRS, you have to make an IRS for the DEI. That's what you have to do. I'm going to keep saying over and over again until somebody out there hears me. God of plague, promote hate, get hated. That's what they profit off of. They profit off of hate. Also, Attribution, yes, but. There's always a yes, but. There's always a but. And our last story takes us all the way to Texas, everybody. The stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas. Fort Worth Independent School District pauses several DEI-linked student programs. Why? Why would they do that? Several diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI-linked student programs in Fort Worth ISD are being paused, according to an internal email obtained by a district parent. Quote, we want to inform you that due to recent federal funding constraints, specific Fort Worth ISD wraparound services and programs will experience a temporary pause effective immediately, the email reads. The paused programs include T3, Tarrant to and Through Partnership. Don't know what that is. Girls Incorporated. You know, that's the sexist version of Kids Incorporated. You guys remember Kids Incorporated? We're Kids Incorporated. K-I-D-S. Yeah, Kids Incorporated. Oh, looks like we made it. We're Kids Incorporated. Pardon me. If you don't remember that, you're very young. Girls Incorporated Communities in Schools. What kind of communities? My Brother's Keeper, My Sister's Keeper. Tell us about what these programs are. My Brother's Keeper was launched in 2014 by President Barack Obama. The initiative claims to address, quote, opportunity gaps, unquote, for boys and young men of color, citing, quote, persistent social inequities caused by, quote, structural and institutional racism, according to the website. Oh, institutional and structural racism? You mean like setting up a program at a federally funded school that specifically singles out students on the basis of their race? I mean, that kind of thing, you know, that... I got a question. I mean, it's independent school district. Does it, if I'm reading, ISD means independent school district, right? Doesn't mean something else. Either way, does the Fort Worth ISD accept federal funding in any way, shape, or form? Is it the recipient of federal financial assistance? If so, I got news for 2014 Barack Obama. And also the Fort Worth ISD. Girls Incorporated has drawn criticism in Tarrant County for promoting political activism in schools. Do tell. In October of 2023, the Tarrant County Commissioner's Court voted to block state funds from going to the organization, citing ideological concerns. The county government should not be funding, nor should the county government be passing through money from some other source for an organization that is so deeply ideological and encourages the children that they are teaching to go advocate for social change, unquote, County Judge Tim O'Hare said, as reported by the Fort Worth Report. Holly Plemons, the Fort Worth parent who obtained the leaked email, told the Dallas Express that the program removals represent a victory. What did Girls Incorporated do? What were they promoting as far as activism and such? These stories don't tell me enough. Quote, this is a major win for children, parents, and taxpayers who will no longer be forced to fund their demise or fund political propaganda and true grifters, Plemons said. Quote, it makes me smile so big to think of the rainy day that these four organizations are having and the future rainy days to come. This is what I voted for. In July of 2024, as previously reported by the Dallas Express, the Fort Worth ISD board voted 6-1 to renew a $237,000 contract with the My Brother's Keeper Alliance for continued programming in the district. Okay, well, I want to know, we got a little bit of information from My Brother's Keeper, My Sister's Keeper. I want to know what political activism Girls Incorporated was promoting. I want to know what T3 was doing and what Community in Schools was. Why? Is there anybody who's going to tell me these things? I might have to do a follow-up on that. But her obvious glee over this, that makes me happy. Actually, it makes me smile so big to think of the rainy day that these four organizations are having and the future rainy days to come. Boy, oh boy. Oh, man. Well, that's good. It stinks that it took since 2014 for an obvious violation of civil rights law to finally get defunded, but there you go. I guess that's what it takes. Oh, One Portnoy. Hi, Scribe. Did I miss anything? Yes. But what you didn't miss, I hope, is the like button. Yes, guys, as I said at the top of the show, apparently YouTube is changing the algorithm that views do not count anymore unless they are followed up with viewer engagement. So that means that you have to actually hit the like button or you actually have to leave a comment in order for your viewing this broadcast to actually count towards the algorithmic benefit of my channel, whatever that means. So if you have not already, please do hit the like button or leave a comment below if you're watching this in the future. And as always, do share this stuff out. And if you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe. And if you're watching over on X or have an X account and you happen to see this over on the X account, this stream, please retweet it. Appreciate that as well. Anything else here? Susano Al-Rashad, public allies is worth looking into as far as why Obama did what he did, at least with other pushes he made. Oh yeah, no, a lot about Obama and what he was doing when he was president is only now coming to light, as we've seen from Tulsi Gabbard and such in the last couple of days. But I'll be looking into a couple of things I've seen in these articles today. Just as a supplementary note, in the last DEI Deathwatch, I talked about T-Mobile. We looked at T-Mobile finally, purportedly, maybe, divesting themselves of their DEI programs. But there was something that was mentioned in some of the T-Mobile literature that has absolutely disappeared from the internet as far as I can tell. And I might need anybody's help here that might be interested in it. So, back in 2021, T-Mobile says that they issued a list of 54 promises for their Equity in Action program. Now, what these 54 promises are, I don't know. By 2023 or thereabouts, they had said they had accomplished or completed 27 of those promises, so half. And then they don't mention it anymore after about 2024. A couple of these promises are vaguely outlined in some of their yearly sort of progress reports. But I have been unable to find a list of what these 54 promises are, not from any kind of press release. I've gone through the Wayback Machine on several things. I can't find it. So, on the off chance that anybody here might have a source, personal or otherwise, about what these 54 T-Mobile promises for their Equity in Action program were from 2021, I'd love to know. Now, I understand that conceivably, now that T-Mobile has said that they are getting rid of all their DEI programs, that list is defunct, I guess. All the same, I would love to know what they had been doing from 2021 through just about a week or two ago regarding these 54 promises. And if they've accomplished 27 of them, I'd like to know, because they made several claims in their press release about divesting themselves of their DEI programs that I don't believe. I don't believe that they never proceeded without using percentages or quotas or anything else based around race or gender, especially since they used percentages to measure race and gender in their employee population and executive teams in their published literature, which is still available on the internet. So that's one thing. But I am very curious to know if anybody has a line in. I've looked all over the place. I can't find it. Several articles mention it, but the actual list, if the list was ever published, I can't find. So if you do come across that or know someone who might be able to find out, I'd appreciate it, just for my own edification. Also, Ken Lee, I am very early. First, you are so early. You are early to watch the show at the beginning again. But and Walter Tomaszewski, yay, Scribe, I got to replace my speaker wire during your show. Audio came through my iPad, not my stereo system until it was in. Well, congratulations. Yay, technical upgrades. Unlike the FAA and our flight controllers. Anyway, everybody, a couple of programming notes. First and foremost, I'll be here on Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for the next episode of TED Excellence, where I'll take a look at another off-brand TED Talk. It may be another TED Talk about inclusion, because that's unofficially Inclusion Month this month, by accident. Let's see. Susano Al-Rashard, it mentions it. It mentions it in that report. It does not list the actual 54. Yeah, I've looked up each of their yearly corporate social responsibility reports. They mention the 54 promises. They list 2 or 3 or 4, but they don't give us an actual full list of what they've accomplished or what they haven't. I'm still trying to find that. If you do happen to find it, do let me know. Let's see. Yeah, they talk. Yeah, the mentioning the Equity in Action program, mentioning the 54 promises exist. I've seen that in many places. If you find the actual list, like, please let me know. Also, programming note: there will not be either a Sunday stream or a Saturday stream this weekend. This weekend, my sister and I are going to visit our folks for the weekend. So I'm taking the weekend off to go visit with Mom and Dad, Mama Scribe and Papa Scribe. So that will be, depending on when I get back on Sunday, I might do something. It depends on how much energy I have left after the road trip. But we shall see. So just as a warning, no Saturday stream or conceivably Sunday stream. But I might surprise you. I might surprise myself. We'll find out. And you can next find me Wednesday at 9:05 a.m. Pacific Time, noon 05 p.m. Eastern Time over on Midnight's Edge in the morning, where we'll talk about movies and stuff and probably get some early numbers and probably an early review of Fantastic Four, because Andre over at Midnight's Edge is going to see that movie before that show, so we'll get a sneak preview of what he thinks about Fantastic Four. Oh boy, guys. Oh boy. Otherwise, everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or to the GoFundMe pinned to the top of the chat box, thank you guys so much for your generosity. Very much believe it. I very much believe it. I also appreciate it. I can do these two things at the same time. Can I walk and chew bubblegum at the same time? I don't know. But you know what I do know? I know I have a Discord server. Do you want to join the Discord server? Well, all you have to do is click on the link that I just put in the chat box. You'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me that you're not a bot, have watched the stream, and have thus earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. And today's secret word is engagement. Yes, both in employee engagement, as we learned is the new buzz phrase for DEI, but also engagement with the channel, because that apparently is what you have to do to help me out. So yeah, everyone, have a good rest of your Monday. I hope you have a good week ahead of you. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.